welcome to the FBC Durant podcast. I'm Garrett.
I'm Corey.
I'm Cole. And we're going to start out this episode today by giving you a couple of announcements. The first one is just an Easter invite. We have Easter coming up, and that's going to be on April 20th this year. So we have our 8:30 service, our 10 o'clock service, and our 11:15 service. You could come to any of those that you want, and we're just looking forward to having a great time at Easter this year. And then also, coming up soon on May 4th, we're going to end our first podcast season with a live event in the Student Worship Center the evening of May 4th. We're going to have a Q&A panel. And so this is going to be a Q&A with the FBC Durant podcast team and our, I think maybe a couple of our staff guys as well. So come to this event and come with questions, and we're just going to sit in there and answer a lot of questions. And so you can come with any questions that you have, and we'll make our best attempt to answer them.
Yeah, maybe we can throw out an opportunity for questions early on or something. Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But I can't believe we actually pulled off a year of podcast.
So an opportunity to be on the podcast, I guess.
Yeah, let's go.
Accomplishment, absolutely.
So
cool. Those are a couple announcements, and we're going to kick off this episode with a First Takes question. Today we have Charles Lee with us, who is leading our men's ministry here at First Baptist Church Durant. Yeah. And we're going to talk about men's ministry stuff, but before we do that, we have to know, what is the manliest thing you have ever done in your entire life?
Oh, man.
Manly first
let's see. I would probably go with two. Okay. So the first thing is we bought a house that was in need of minor repair, like a complete remodel. And so I did that. Never done that before. I learned a lot about what I don't know. I didn't actually get better at anything besides calling people to tell me where I messed up. So that was one. And then two, maybe cliche, but definitely felt like a man. We got married, and I have 6 kids. So that combo of marriage and parenthood.
Absolutely.
Biologically male.
Biologically.
What about unlimited strength or unlimited stamina?
Oh, geez.
So do you want to just be unlimited strong, or do you want to just like run forever, not get tired? What's the manlier answer?
I think the manlier answer is strength, but having 6 kids, I'll take the stamina.
Okay, all right.
Seems a little more practical.
Because I have 0 right now at 31. I'm gassed.
That's fair. I'll take the most practical for sure. Well, very cool. So checking out men's ministry. Cole always brings this up, but kind of what do you feel like the purpose, mission, and vision behind men's ministry is here at FBC Durant?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Personally, I think that answer is going to vary based on who you ask. So for me, when I think of man ministry, my goal, my vision behind a man ministry is to grow camaraderie amongst the men in the church and relationship, right? I want to grow a love for one another by growing a love for Jesus. First Baptist is, for me, unique. It's the biggest church I've ever been to by far. And, I mean, we might as well have 10,000 members, right? I mean, I don't know what the roster is, but it feels like 1 million. Yeah. And so, we have 3 services. There are countless dudes that I'm just not ever going to run into, realistically. So the man ministry is really an opportunity to have these guys come together that have previously really been separated by services and also lifestyle, right? I mean, if we don't work in the same place or we don't have kind of the same general interest, I'm probably not going to bump into you out and about. And so the man ministry is this place where we can come together, not separated by service time, not separated by lifestyle or anything, and just worship Jesus together. Yeah. And then hopefully, like I said, grow in relationship. My goal specifically here at FBC is that man ministry would really be this launching platform for a lot of journey groups. Yeah. We've got
That's good.
Anywhere from 30 to 60 regular attendees. I know it's a bit of a gap, but, depending on the week. And so various ages, like I said, context, background would be a great place to grab 4 other guys and be like, hey, can we walk with Jesus close for a year? So that's kind of my thoughts.
And I'm thinking about some of the previous events we've done too. Like when we're doing dinner and stuff, the specific effort we make to sit at a table with someone we don't know, and try to connect with them, maybe even leave with a new phone number or something like that. So the level of connection is there as well.
Yeah, definitely a connection ministry. A place to touch base. As you were saying that, I was thinking about, I've been here for a while now, but even in being here a while, there's guys that in a certain season of life, like I would see all the time, like I worked for the church for a little while, and there was, based on their students and their age, working in the student ministry, that I would see all the time.
Right.
Well, then I have a different job. Their kids either graduate or grow old or whatever. I don't see that guy again for years, and our men's ministry is an opportunity to kind of just touch base with people you don't see, because we are at that size that we may not see those guys on a regular basis. So it's a cool opportunity to touch base, connect, grow deeper, all of it.
For sure.
Yeah, I went like last month. I don't make all of them. Sundays are really weird hit miss for me. And I went like last month, and it had been a minute since I'd gone. But I think one of the cool things I saw that I didn't see the other times was like some fathers and sons.
Yeah.
Like some, and I was like, this is kind of. I didn't think about this aspect of it. That like, you could take your son, and it just be like this more kind of like intimate father-son kind of walking fellowship, like foster that, because parents struggle with that at home anyways, like kind of fostering sometimes, like how do I talk to my teenager, or how do I, walk with them, not put it all on a youth pastor or someone else, but like kind of provides a place to go, hey, let's go cultivate this together, make this a comfortable thing, instead of an awkward thing. And I thought that was cool to see that, like, just, I was like, oh, this is neat. Yeah. As well as, seeing like, Mike Robinson sit next to Will Sandman and just this generation, just, dude, like you said, they might not ever run into each other outside of this, but here they are. And it is cool for sure, for connection.
Yeah. The phrase I've heard before is learning by either being taught or caught, like having younger ones around, like we do have a teaching portion of what we do in men's ministry, but just thinking about if when my kid's with me, he's catching the way I'm interacting with other men, or way I'm interacting with an older gentleman versus a younger guy, and he's catching some of that at the same time. So just a cool opportunity.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen on a regular basis throughout my week like that. So
I've made a point since we started coming to FBC and getting involved in things like man ministry to bring my oldest son, and then I think the last couple I've been bringing my youngest one, to the detriment of everybody else there.
Not at all. I love seeing them. It's cool.
But very much like I want them to, because they're going to grow up, right? Yeah. They're going to turn 18 and they're going to leave my house and potentially this town and this church. And so I don't want them to go out into the world and not have a concept of how they're supposed to do church.
Right.
And that's, we can talk statistics and kind of these generational waves that you see of right now, a lot of younger people leaving church, and we ask, why is that happening? And, maybe the sore truth, maybe not all of it, but to a degree that I think a lot of parents don't want to deal with is, well, those kids just weren't discipled. We took them to church, and maybe we took them to a youth group, but they weren't really discipled in a way of like, well, how are you involved in a church as your own person? How do you participate in this besides going to things that are geared towards you? Because at some point, you graduate youth group and the service is no longer really geared towards you, right? Sunday service isn't geared towards me. If it was, we would sing a lot more hymns, right? Yeah. And so, and Gary would preach for an hour and a half. And so that being said, I would. And so I want my kids to get this understanding, like, this isn't about you. This isn't for you. This is for the glory of the Lord. That's why we can do this. And so learning at an early age how to plug in, how to be a part of the body, and be about something bigger than yourself, and not just be a consumer, but to contribute, right? And so, we could talk about the pillars of our church and how we flesh those out in man ministry, but in one of them, in the discipleship portion, we typically, historically, what we've done is we've just read a block of scripture. And the last time we did it, we read Romans. And we read all of Romans. And it was awesome. And at the very end of Romans, Paul gives this benediction, right? It's not very long, but it's a few lines there. And I thought, I'm going to have my son read this. And so typically what we do is we'll have various guys that come that have volunteered to read a portion of Scripture. And so we had 16 guys read a chapter, right? And at the very end, my oldest, he read it. And, this is just a way that, hey, this isn't kids ministry, this is church. And you can still be a part of this even though you're not an adult. And so just teaching them that at an early age, I think is important.
Yeah. Because he's the church too.
Absolutely, yeah.
For him to feel welcome, there's a huge deal. We think with our little ones, like they may be a bother or whatever, but
right.
I hope he grows up feeling like even around just men, I was welcome, I was accepted, and they took me on.
Yeah.
I think that's all really well said. Me and Garrett were definitely youth pastors. Were you, Charles?
No,
Okay.
no one was that stupid to let me around to let me teach their children.
You do youth ministry long enough, and it's something like you wrestle with. Me and Garrett had conversations all the time. It's like this is really like we're building something for them, and then like you just see they graduate and like the spiritual mortality rate's just like crazy. Like they just they're out of something that's catered to them, and you kind of like start wrestling with this conviction of like I should have made this less fun. I don't something, and so like I really think like that's a really cool way to like look at this and like something to look at like men's ministry, women's ministry. That like you're exposing your children or whoever to like walking with Christ at various different ages, and that's an encouraging thing to I think see. Like I got a lot out of my, as I've said multiple times here, out of my like J group doing it with like some 80-year-old dudes, because it's like this is where I want to be when I'm 80. Like I want to like still be like investing in younger dudes and walking with the Lord and excited to walk with the Lord and and so like I do think that that's cool, like that you're showing your sons like look, like these guys are at their age and they're still walking. This goes beyond, like you said, these ministries that'll cater to you for a long time. And so I do think that's very cool. Like I think it's a very cool way to look at that. Yeah,
and I want to say like I don't want anybody to hear this or watch it and be like that dude hates youth ministry. Not true at all, right? I love anything that's well done.
Yeah.
And so I got to give props to Sebastian because I think he's done and is doing a fantastic job of taking those youth kids and showing them how to be a part of the kingdom even in their age, right? And so he's not made it Candyland, right? He's teaching them apologetics, which was a word I learned when I was 20, right? And he's utilizing his gifting to encourage them and show them how they plug into the kingdom even at their age. And that, I think, is paramount to a perseverance of your faith, is when you hit that time where you're no longer, effectively being fed sugar and you need to start eating right. Well, if you don't have, a concept of what protein is, you're just going to go back to the honey bun. And so teaching kids at a young age, or whenever you get them, hey, this is how we walk healthily in the body of the Lord. And so my kids seeing Gary Spohr and David Anderson at Man Ministry, it's like, when you're 65, 70, you still come to church, you still participate. Like this isn't an age out thing. I think it just makes their faith have a much longer potentiality for lifespan.
Oh, for sure. And they just circle back even on what Sebastian's doing that I know I didn't do very well as a youth pastor, is if you go on Wednesday nights, because I'll go every once in a while to play bass or something, there's a ton of adults. He's gotten a lot of adults involved. And so, again, those kids are exposed to, parents or college students that are pouring in, and they do see, this goes beyond my years here. And I think that is cool. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And so
a church that's multi-generational is important.
That's
for sure.
Yeah. Men's ministry provides that. Just one of the opportunities. And women's ministry that we talked about also.
For sure. So our men's ministry events, We do once a month per semester basis, correct?
Yeah, we do 4 in the spring and 4 in the fall. We take the summer off. We usually, I believe, take December off too, given the
Christmas season,
the Christmas and really the weather is also usually going to keep people out, and so we pick it back up in January.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this briefly, talking about our scripture reading night and things like that. But if you could kind of maybe briefly walk us through the specific things that we kind of do at these events, maybe mention the things we did previously. I mean, they're all tailored around our mission and vision, but like, what are some of the things we do at these men's ministry events?
Yeah, absolutely. So our church has 4 pillars: worship, connection, discipleship, and mobilization. So for each one of those, we have an event each week, or each month, I should say, where we try to exercise that, live that out, really. So worship. We historically have done just a night of worship. Garrett, very familiar with that because I usually beg him to come sing for us.
I enjoy it.
Hit the solos. But I think this past one actually, we had Cole Newton, brother, pastor out at Western Meadows. He came and preached a sermon over the doctrine of worship. And I'm a sucker for a good sermon, and Cole's really good at making those happen. So that was legit. He basically just preached off of the second commandment, right, and just laid out the doctrine of worship from that. So it was fantastic. So in that worship night, we just try to flesh out this idea of worship and different ways to do that. Connection. So that is typically in the spring. What we do is we schedule that as our Super Bowl party, hoping to eventually make that co-ed. Teasers. And so that would be cool. We've gotten a lot of feedback from my wife that should be co-ed so she can come watch the Chiefs play, because apparently they're a staple in the Super Bowl now, which is lame. And then in the fall, we do a steak night. So we eat every night, but this is like, hey, we're going to spend a little bit of extra money and we're going to eat well.
Cool.
So I think Gary Spohr grilled all of our steaks the last time. I wasn't there, but I heard it was great. So that's cool. It's really a night where we don't necessarily have a service or anything. We just try to focus the whole evening on connection, on hanging out with dudes. So at the Super Bowl party, I missed most of the game, unfortunately, which would have been good to watch because the Chiefs lost. But there was a guy there who I'd never seen before at church or anywhere else, and I spent probably 30 minutes talking to him, and I've seen him around church since then. So that's one of those nights. It's like we kind of block this off. You have to talk to people, right? Regardless, like there's everybody around. That's what we're there for, is to kind of grab those dudes who you might not have a connection with and make a connection, like the pillar says. And then we have discipleship night. So again, historically, what we've done here is read scripture. I think the first time we did it, we read like half of Hebrews. Gary self-admittedly dropped the ball and didn't let us read all of Hebrews. I asked him if we could read the whole New Testament, and he said we didn't have that kind of time. But so we'll read a book usually. We went through Romans the last time because Gary was preaching through Romans. He's still doing that, so I don't know what we're going to do the next time.
Maybe Romans again.
Just Romans again, yeah. Just keep running it
By the
back.
time we come back.
It's a good book. This last go around, we did a J group night. So we had the presentation on J groups because, as I said earlier, man ministry is a great spot to grab dudes up and ask to get in a J group with them. There's plenty of guys who've never been in a J group and don't even know what that is, right? Don't know what that looks like. I myself have never been in a J group, right? I've not been at this church very long. And so, that was like, hey, let's talk about this because this is a thing we push, but do we describe what this is, right? And so we took that night to have a J group presentation from a few guys that have been in one and taught one, and it went great from what I heard. So that was awesome. And then we have our mobilization night. So this is pretty much every time we do a missions recap. We'll have a missions team. This is usually led by Guillermo because he always has a missions team ready to go. And so usually the Hispanic life group will host this for us because they cook the best. No digs, is true. Mexican food is the best food. And we recap missions. So this last time we had Dustin, our missions pastor, give us a recap of some missions that they took to Germany. Sebastian talked about the Tulsa trip that they went on. And we had a video from Ryan McMillan, our Germany partner. So that was all super awesome. It's very informative, and I think, exposing guys to that, again, this is a multi-generational thing. So there's anywhere from, teenagers to, 80-year-olds, 90-year-olds in our man ministry. There's mission trips for everybody. We're all called to go and share, right? And so you can go, you can send, or you can disobey, is what I was always told. And so this exposure to seeing how our church is being faithful to that calling, and how there are men that are going and that are being a part of it, and then just getting like a real-time recap of what God did on these trips is super awesome.
Is there you said you meet with the leadership team, anything looking forward now that you've had some time with it that y'all are a direction you might want to go? Or
there's lots of directions I'd like to go. They won't give me the wheel solely to their wisdom. Yeah, I know, right? We've talked about trying to get more involved with our community. So, again, kind of being new to the scene, I'm not sure how long we've been doing man ministry with this kind of steam, but it feels like it's growing. Yeah. And it feels like it's gaining momentum and buy-in from a lot of the guys, which is awesome. And so, we'd like to amp up what we're doing, right? So we've been inwardly focused, rightly, I think, to focus on our people and to build that cohesion. And for the most part, it's there. But some of the best relationships are forged in the trenches, right? I went to Manhattan when I was a freshman in college, and we spent a week doing hurricane relief for Hurricane Sandy, and we slept in an army tent. It was the winter, it was Christmas week, and we hung out in New York in an army tent and tore down houses all day that the hurricane had destroyed. And some of those relationships are thicker than blood right now, and so if we can start getting our guys in, like Serve Durant is a great example. If we could get 40 guys out of our man ministry to go and work those projects together, it would really give us some time to not just sit and talk together, but to work together and to build relationships through that. So that's one thing we're looking at, is some community serve projects. People in the church that need help, or like I said, Serve Durant. And then I'm advocating that we double how many services we have, and we go up to 8 a semester. Nobody's buying in on that yet, but I'm going to keep voting that way, and eventually my dark horse candidate might win. But yeah, I would just like to get more exposure, because Corey, he mentioned this earlier, how, he doesn't get to make all of them. And now that could be a Sunday issue, or it's like, dude, you could do them 52 times a year and it'd be rough for me to make 5 of them. But, there's also the reality that if you get sick on the one Sunday that we're going to have it that month, you're not going to get this opportunity again for 30 days. So just trying to give more opportunity for some of those guys to make it out, and, more FaceTime with each other is not a bad thing in my opinion. So we'll see.
Come on, Gary.
Come on, Gary. Yeah.
Blast right quick.
Quit reining me in. Let me run.
Let him free.
But we are growing. We're taking ideas. If you've got any awesome idea that you'd love to contribute to the man ministries, Jim Hodson's fielding all of those. Okay. I'll get you his phone number and email.
Yeah.
Home address.
Volunteered. Very cool. If anybody wants to help out, contact Jim.
Contact Jim.
Okay.
Jim and Guillermo are the pastors on the leadership team that kind of keep me and all my wild ideas in check. We've also got Tristan Robinson, Mike Robinson, and Gary Sporter. Awesome. So thankful for all those men, and hit them up with any great ideas.
Cool. I like that.
I hope what anybody would hear that's listening, because I think sometimes man's ministry is a misnomer, especially for a guy like me or Garrett. We're we're not out in the woods. We're not renovating homes. No. We're calling Cody Harrison.
That's
hey, you
right.
want to renovate my home?
Come on.
And so like, I think sometimes there's a misnomer of like, well, I'm not going to fit in because they're just like, they're taking their shirts off and eating like raw steak and stuff like that. But you at the very beginning said like, this is really just about worshiping Jesus in a community of men and like getting to know other men to build like those brotherly connections with. Yeah. So I hope like people hear that and like go like, no, like this is just like, if you're a male, this is like, you're not going to be put in a weird spot. You're not going to be told to throw a football 50 yards and then made fun of if you don't. It's not that. It's like, because it's about brotherly connection, in the, shared pursuit of Jesus. And I think like I want people to hear that. And I think the other thing that people should really hear is that like, again, maybe a misnomer of saying men, bring your kid. Bring your son. Like, it's not just 21 and up. It's like, no, like, I bet it'd be awesome if more youth kids were going and stuff like that. 100%. I mean, like, and I think those are cool things that I hope, like, people really take from this is that, like, nah, dude, it's just come. Yeah. Hang out.
Is. Yeah. You make a really good point. I think that our culture, and to some degree is rightly so, but has really kind of framed manhood as this, well, if you didn't, chop down 50 trees with a pocket knife and slay 100 lions with the jawbone of a donkey, you're not really a man. Yeah. And the manliest thing someone can do is follow Jesus. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so
that's well said.
That is really what I hope, along with you, that the guys see is this isn't about, hey, we're having man ministry, so as long as you can bench 250, you can come. Like, the entrance fee is Jesus your Lord.
Yeah.
And outside of that, we're going to find common ground. And if we don't, awesome. That means we're going to learn about stuff we have no concept of. And, this is where, you guys can speak to, was your J group 4 other guys that looked just like you, or was it guys from different life experiences that you were able to glean wisdom from? Discipleship is not teaching somebody what they already know. And so in this man ministry, the goal is that you would come, you would worship Jesus corporately with other men, that you would lift your voice up high and praise the King of Kings, and then you would go sit down at a table with some guys you don't know, and get their phone number and maybe have coffee and get to know them and maybe get discipled by them, maybe disciple them, start a J group. Maybe you see some people you do know and this is the one time a month you get to connect. Awesome. Here we are. We want to be a meeting place for men that are centered around Jesus, not a machismo, display kind of thing. That's not what it's about. And so I think, within the church at large, if we can correct that within church culture, we're going to see men in the church really rise up to what God's called them to. God has not called every man to be the Brady Baskin, much like Brady. Right?
Brady.
There are academics. There are guys who are really good with their hands. There are dudes who are just faithful to the things that have been put in front of them. And I can learn a lot about being a good husband or father from somebody that I have no other connection with, right? So this isn't about anything really on the surface. This is about what's underneath. And so that's what we're about.
That's cool.
No, for sure. That's really well said. Again, even bringing it back to your first take question, you said the second manliest thing you've ever done is have a family. Yeah. And so, you're going to walk into men's ministry, and it's not going to be like, how much you bench, how much you bench. It's going to be like other husbands and fathers, or, men aspiring to be husbands and fathers, and like what that looks like as a Christian, how that looks like to do marriage and do parenting, and you just get all this different life advice. You just get all this different experience, and it's just very valuable. Yeah. So that's well said.
Yeah,
I like what you said about the manliest thing you can do is follow Jesus. It reminds me of I went to this breakout on a Glorieta trip one time during college, and
those are good.
I don't remember what the session was exactly about, but I remember the guy wrote a list of characteristics on the board, like a line of characteristics here and a line here. And these would all say different things like kindness, faithfulness. I mean, just random things like on each side. And then he had us like pick out which side more likely describes Jesus. And there was things that were Christ-like characteristics on both of these lists, but he had us all pick, and it was pretty clear that one side was the one to pick. And then he said that this side is more so the characteristics that describe women, and this left side are the ones that describe men. And all of these characteristics that describe men are the ones that are less Christ-like, ultimately, is what he was saying. And so it's kind of flip-flops the way you think about like our culture. What our culture says describe a man is not at all what the Bible says it should be. Yeah. And so I thought that was really interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah. This really got modeled for me well, I think, at Glorietta. My freshman year is the first time I ever had exposure to the BCM. I wasn't even for sure I was going to Southeastern, but Trey Hedrick said, "But you're going to Glorietta." And I said, "Yes, sir." And so I was like 2 months saved, was coming out of a very hedonistic lifestyle, and I'm on this church bus with people I don't know, right? And we get there, and this dude with dreadlocks says, "Hey, you're going to this breakout with me?" And I was like, "Sure." I'm from a small town of 300 people. If a guy with dreadlocks tells you you're doing something, you're going to do that.
First time.
Yeah, for real. And I looked at the name of the breakout, and it was like manhood or something. And I'm like, oh, this will be good. We're going to talk about sports, which I'm a fan of. And we get there, and there's like 100 guys in a very small room. Like, we were packed. And he shuts the door, and he's like, "Is anybody like standing by the door?" And they're like, "No." And he's like, "Okay." And he looks at all of us, and he says, "Who's struggling with sexual immorality?" And that was his lead off. And he goes on to define sexual morality and lays out the various ways that can apply. And he said, "I want everybody to bow their head, and if you're struggling with this, throw your hand up." And I was like, well, that's definitely me. You named off like everything about me on your board there. Mm-hmm. And so he says, if you didn't raise your hand, first off, praise God. Secondly, I need you to open your eyes and pray for somebody that has their hand up. And I felt like I was naked in front of my whole school. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm about to get found out by this dude who brought me here that I don't even know yet. And this new story I thought I was going to get to write about myself in college is about to go down the drain. And this dude who brought me spent the next 45 minutes with his hands on me praying. I didn't know people could pray for 45 minutes, first off. And secondly, like, it was great. And this room is full of a bunch of like high testosterone college guys crying and praying for each other. And that from then on was continued to be mirrored. It continued to be mirrored in Southeastern's BCM man ministry. There were plenty of high testosterone guys there, that were frequent in the weight rooms, but were also first people on their knees to confess sin and pray for people. And so seeing that modeled throughout 4 years of man ministry at the BCM just kind of ingrained in me that, like, this is what it is to be a man, is to be humble before Jesus, right? And so, I mean, he lays this out pretty well in the Beatitudes, I think, but, I can't lead my wife, I can't lead my kids, I can't disciple other dudes if I'm coming to them thinking I already have it figured out. I need Jesus more than anybody. And so when we come to man ministry, not to beat a dead horse, but reality is like we don't want you to come and feel like you've got to prove yourself. You've got to come and humble yourself before Jesus. And so that's really it, and that's part of why I bring my kids. I want my boys to see that. I want Garrett's boys to see that. I want Dustin's kids to see that. And I want our 80-year-olds who are coming to see that there's 3 generations behind them that are still doing it. I think that gives them encouragement to continue to persevere and finish their race. And I think that it gives, truthfully, I think it encourages our pastors to see that there are a bunch of men in their church that are being faithful. So,
for sure. All right. Well, Charles, thank you for coming on the show today. We appreciate this conversation. It's been great. if you if you're interested in men's ministry, as we kind of talked about, you can get connected with anybody. As anybody in the church that's part of the ministry, do that. And we're also going to speak about women's ministry in this episode. So now we're going to transition to a conversation we had with Katherine Rhynes about women's ministry here at FBC Durant.
Welcome to the FBC Durant podcast. I'm Garrett.
I'm Corey.
I'm Sarah, and today we have Katherine Rhynes here with us. She's going to talk a little bit about women's ministry in our church, which falls underneath our connection pillar. So we just wanted to highlight that today, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Katherine to tell us a little bit about our women's ministry and also kind of what led you to our women's ministry.
Okay, well, thank you for having me. I think what led me to the ministry was I started helping, and the leader decided she was ready to step down, and so I have a gift from the Lord to lead, and anytime I'm in a group, I typically end up being the leader. So, but I have a passion for it because I see how important it is for women to connect. Typically, in a typical Baptist church, or at least where I've been, a lot of life groups are divided by age. Mm-hmm. And so with that, you don't really get to interact with women of different generations. Mm. And so I think that's what's really beneficial for our women's ministry. And I got to participate in one the town we lived in before here and see how it was without leading it. And then when I was here and started helping, and the opportunity opened. And so I like to say that I help lead our women's ministry. There's several ladies throughout the years. It varies who it is, but there's always somebody helping me, and I definitely don't do it by myself.
That's awesome.
So you want to tell us a little bit about women's ministry, maybe just touch on some things that we do yearly, and just ways that women can kind of get connected through our women's ministry.
Okay, so on an annual basis, we always participate in the women's retreat that the Oklahoma Baptist puts on every April, and it's at Falls Creek. Of course, we can attend Falls Creek, but 4 years ago in 2021, they started the option of having a simulcast, and so we have taken up that option the last 4 years, and so it's a fun way to get to participate but get to stay home. Mm-hmm. And so we do that annually, and then we have our summer coffee chats every summer. It's pretty fun. Cool. I don't know if you've got to go to one yet, but it's usually in someone's home, and 15 to 30 ladies will come, and it's just a time of fellowship. We do those 2-3 times every summer, and then we have our ladies' night in August, and that kicks off the fall semester, and we usually have a guest speaker. We focus on one of the pillars of our church, and so we've done connection, and then the next year we did discipleship, and last year we did mobilization, and so this August, what do you think we're going to do? We will do worship.
That's cool.
I like being able to kind of highlight and reinforce those pillars, that the vision that Gary has for our church. And then we also have a fun game night to kick off our spring semester. And then in between there, we have different things, and that kind of changes and can vary from year to year.
I've been a part of several of the things you said, several years. I really enjoy the women's ministry events that we have where we all come together because of the reasons you said. Like, we're having so many different not so many, but now we have 3 services. So a lot of times you don't see women, even that you used to, because there used to only be 2 services. Now I go to the 10 o'clock service, so I don't see a lot of the people that I used to before. And so it's a good time to, like you said, catch up with multi-generational women. Mm-hmm. And then I took part in the monthly meetups, I think is what we called them, at the time, where I got to meet with some women. And I thought that was really cool because they're people I don't spend time with typically, or even people I've never really talked to before. So I thought that was really great. It's a really good way to get connected.
Yeah, that was a one-on-one meetup.
Yes.
Like I paired everybody up, and you just made your own connection, and whether you went for
cool.
coffee or for
I was
lunch.
going to ask what the monthly meetup was.
Yeah, so it was like
We didn't get the
each
invite.
month you like got a text assignment from Catherine, like
Okay.
here's your person, and then you were responsible for like texting and meeting up with that person if you wanted to. And I ended up meeting up with all of mine, I think, either for like lunch or coffee or something. And two of them were people I might have known of, but I like had never even really talked to them. So I thought that was really cool. And then on top of that, I think it's just a really good way, especially if we have people who are new or who are thinking about coming to our church, to get connected with other women, because I feel like connection is just obviously so important. And you have your life group, but like sometimes it's advantageous. It's always advantageous to connect with people who aren't in your life group also within your church body, I believe. So
On our
I've really
big
enjoyed them.
events, I've noticed that we may have 75 women, but the next big event, we may have 75 women, but it's like half
Different
of them are
75.
different.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if all the ladies came to one event, we would probably have at least 200 women.
Yes.
That's crazy.
But yeah, so we have a lot of people involved. It just depends on, if it fits their calendar, if they can make it. But we do have good participation, and I think that's helpful, like you said, for them, for people to meet others.
Yeah, I think
That's a lot.
I had 2 coworkers who were looking for a church, and I invited them here, and they're both ladies. And I think when they first came, y'all were having a game night, and my wife was like, "Hey, y'all should really come." And they ended up like having the best time ever. I think
that's
one of them
cool.
won game night, and they stuck around. So I mean, they're still
awesome.
here. They've been here about a year now. So it's like you said, it's a really cool way. Like if you're new, to come and go, all right, let's meet a bunch of people and and connect. And so I think that's cool.
Katherine and her team are always really good about doing like fun icebreaker games and just ways that we can kind of get up. Because, you sit down with people that you know at the table generally, but then there's always something that makes you get up from your table and go meet other people. And so I've met several people. Like I met a girl who eventually joined our life group at one. She sat at our table because she knew one person at our table. And then from there, I got to know her better. But it's just a really good time of fellowship, I think. And I cannot wait to be a part of Coffee Chats. I feel like I have not gotten to be a part. Well, I could have probably, but I have had small children. I had Heath during the summer. I think that they started. So I was postpartum, and then we typically travel, but this summer I will not be going anywhere. I have a 4-month-old. I will be going somewhere in August, but I'm all free all summer, so I'll be at the Coffee Chat.
I'm looking to get out of the house.
Hold me to it, Catherine.
I don't have the dates exactly nailed down, but typically we end up doing the last Saturday of May, June, and July.
Perfect. Love that. But yeah, I love coffee and chats. So
These are such really good introductory points to the church.
Yes, anytime there's something where you can invite someone, hey, it's game night. That doesn't feel like a lot of pressure, right?
Yeah, I
or
love that
coffee, or I think is a great way for someone to get connected and plugged in and come with a friend. And
That's really cool.
like you said, that now that girl is in your life group. So that's awesome. I mean, that's the whole goal is, it's not discipleship, it's connection, right? It's not really any of the other 3 pillars, but the connection is so important, and people want to feel a part of a community, and that's what the connection does.
People want to be a part. Yeah, absolutely. It'll be fun to see the dynamic between men ministry events versus women.
I don't know what
It's not a
Charles is going to talk
competition.
about. We don't have that much fun.
and icebreakers are gonna be like steaks out of an ice chest. That's an actual fact. I'm pretty sure y'all did that. So
We did have a steak night.
yeah, it's
missed
just
that
a
one,
different
I guess.
vibe.
And it was out of
obviously.
an ice
It's
chest,
fine
that's
with me.
Okay.
It was a hot ice.
I mean,
chest.
it's fine.
I'll invite you next time.
I would say, and like anyone can answer this question, and there may not be a good answer, but
Not it.
why is it important to have a women's ministry and a men's ministry? Why is it important to segregate kind of into like, your gender specific ministries?
Well, I think part of it goes back to, younger women want to learn from older women,
That's a good answer.
and same for men. And so
Yeah.
especially for people who maybe don't have that in their family or their family's not nearby. And so, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that, I have a lot of friends here at our church that are quite a few years older than me.
Yeah.
And a lot of friends in our church that are quite a few years younger than me.
Cool.
And I wouldn't have that necessarily if I just showed up to life group and service and didn't branch out and,
Okay, for sure.
Yeah, I think also, same for men's ministry, I'm sure, but like there's just certain things that you will talk to women and can talk to women about that you can't like talk about at life group, I feel like. And we have J groups for that too on a more intimate level, but just like normal chats, like we just have different interests. So
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think it's definitely important to connect to just other women, and if you want to get more deep, you can, and it's just in a setting where we're talking about stuff maybe men don't want to talk about. That's fine, but it just gives you like a safe space, I guess, to just be in community, I guess,
Those are good answers.
in a different type of setting.
Those are great answers.
Those are good.
Another way to connect with our women's ministry is we have a Facebook page, and it's a private group page. It's not like a public thing, but it's where a lot of information is communicated, of course, but also people can share prayer requests or a meal train. Someone just had a baby or someone's in the hospital.
That's cool.
Like if you're in another life group, you may not hear about the meal train, but like Sarah, she's not in my life group, but if she has a baby, I want to bring her a meal. And so if it's there for everybody to see, things like that. So our Facebook page is First Women FBC Durant, something like that. Cole can put it on the screen for us.
Yeah, there you go.
Perfect. I was
Magic.
gonna look it up.
Coal magic. Very cool.
Cool. That's awesome. I guess like if let's say a young lady, older woman's listening right now, that Facebook's where they need to go to get plugged in or find you or just maybe just start asking women
Yes.
what's up.
Yes.
Where
That
do I
would probably
go?
be the
What do women do
easiest
around
is
here?
go to that Facebook page. Somebody in this church is probably on that page and can direct you to me, or
Okay, cool.
the church office even can connect you with myself.
Awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
And the upcoming events would be.
Well, when this comes out, it's April, and
Yeah.
so we'll have our women's retreat, which varies every year depending on when Easter is.
Okay.
But it's always in April.
Cool.
And then the men have their retreat the following weekend.
The following weekend,
Well,
yeah.
this year I think Easter's right in the middle of the two.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But anyways, that's typically how it falls.
Very cool.
Cool.
Our team wants everybody to know that our women's ministry is for all women.
Yeah.
So even a lot of our events, we invite the youth girls. So youth,
Oh, that's cool.
college, all
There's
the way
childcare a
up.
lot of times.
Often
Yeah.
our events have childcare, but not every event.
Correct. Often.
But we try to make it welcoming for everybody. And we even have some ladies come from different Baptist churches in the area. Like, for example, the women's retreat, the simulcast, they don't want to travel to Falls Creek, and so
that's
they'll
cool.
come and participate with us. So it really is open to everybody, and the more the merrier.
Yeah,
So
perfect. Well, thank you, Katherine, for coming and sharing about the women's ministry. It's a lot of awesome things we've heard. So if you're a lady out there looking to connect, whether you're in the church or just hearing this outside within our community, there's lots of opportunities to be a part and jump in and connect.